My name's Tony, and I am an alcoholic. 5D is my home group. I had my first drink quite young due to just like my upbringing. Not a broken home, but I guess you could call it home with a cracked foundation, so to speak. My parents got a divorce when I was very little. I was like two. My father was pretty abusive to my mom. I have four older sisters. I'm the only boy. So my nails got painted and my hair was dyed quite a bit when I was young. We moved from California to Connecticut. So it's like the farthest point away at the time. So I grew up with my mom. Looking back on it now, my mom had her own issues with mental health and whatnot. But I remember like thinking about things and like a billiards room in our house. Like there's a dartboard. I was playing like I knew how to play cricket with actual darts when I was like seven. And I remember having a drink of a mudslide and it was a spicy chocolate milk and everybody like laughed and thought it was funny, but not to share my age, but I'm like 33. So this was like in the 90s. I guess that's acceptable, but not acceptable. That was when I was around 8. And that summer, I actually was hit by a car because when you're a kid in the 90s, you were outside from the time the sun came up to the time the street lights went on. I was hanging out with some older kids and went way too far away from my house, miles and miles, just on a bike journey. And I had no brakes on my bike, went up this huge, huge hill and just was coasting down. And I was hit by a car and I broke my femur and woke up in the hospital. I was in a body cast. It was ridiculous. And so that kind of started my acting out a bit because being in a wheelchair in a body cast in fourth grade is not fun. And I had to use a cane. Kids were just mean. So that kind of like made me mean. But in all actuality, I just like wanted to be accepted. It's like I'd be the class clown. I'd be just getting in trouble for all throughout middle school. Going into eighth grade, it was like there's this kid. I don't know why he had a mustache, but he was like 15 and he could buy like alcohol. And I remember like it was smearing off apple vodka, and I wanted to be the cool kid. And I was like, yeah, I drink. I steal alcohol from my parents all the time. In all reality, I've never actually drank. So we're in the woods, and I remember putting it to my mouth, biggest gulp possible, and it just hurt. So then I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. So I would pretend to drink like I'd put it to my mouth, not let any in. And I was just like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, I'm real messed up. But then it was like I didn't really drink a lot in high school. That wasn't my thing. My thing was relationships and then it just comes down to being accepted. And I always felt unaccepted. Then after high school and like parties and drinking often, I was like, oh, I'm the shit when I'm drinking because I didn't care how I acted. Yeah, that started like when I was around like 19 and I left home because like I said, I got hit by a car. So I got a fat settlement from the lawsuit. So I thought I was like a millionaire. I had like $11,000. I had all the friends in the world for like 3 months till the money was gone and I had nothing to show for it. So reaching back out to my family, trying to come home. I moved in with one sister and they're like, I was just acting reckless. So I had to move in with another sister. Things just weren't going well. So on my 21st birthday, I remember I got a job interview at Party City and my mother was hesitant to give me money, but I said I needed pants for the job interview. And I took the money and I bought a bunch of nips. I remember being behind like a dumpster with a friend and like we were just drinking. Long story short, I ended up getting arrested that night for fighting. And because of the damage that I did to a car, I went to jail. I just turned 21. I'm sitting in jail. And I was like, what the hell is going on? That didn't wake me up. Fast forward a couple years, I moved on from friends to friends. I had my first daughter with previous relationship and sobered me up. I was like sober for almost a year and a half. But then I became like a closet drinker. I would drink old duels, but then I would buy rum 151 and like chug it and then they'd be like, why do you smell like alcohol? And I'm like, well, I had it old duels. That's why. Duh. It was just the insanity of it. And I didn't realize I was an alcoholic. So that relationship failed. So I moved in with another sister and I had a great job. I became like an assistant manager of a logistics company and I was young, was making good money, but I was drinking all the time to the point where it was affecting my job. I would drink on the job and it was just ridiculous. I met my now partner, who is my ex-wife. We met and things got pretty crazy in the beginning because I drank, but she drank because I drank. So it became a thing. We had a child as well. And then I lost my job due to not to my drinking, but it had something to do with it. Like I went on unemployment and this sucks. So then the closet drinking happened again. I'd find a way to go to the grocery store, the laundromat, or anywhere doing the same things. I'd buy a bottle of wine, but I'd make sure it was like 17% alcohol. If I had one beer, it was the highest proof quadruple IPA I could possibly find because I was trying to rationalize my drinking, which is not the case. So then I have two more children, two more daughters, and I was just drinking all the time. I was moody when I wasn't drinking, a dick when I was drinking. So it was tough. Me and my wife had split, but we were still married. She did her thing, and I moved in with someone else. And it was because I was able to drink the way I wanted to drink. I was controlling the situation. And that was the downhill because that's right when COVID hit. I'd use every excuse like, oh, I have a fever or I'm this and that. I can't come in. And I was getting obliterated to the point where my drinking got so bad I lost my job again. And I became very dependent on it. And I was 31. I couldn't leave a couch without drinking. My hands would cramp. I had like a spit bucket and thought it was okay to walk around with a spit bucket. And it was crazy. So that was the first time I went to treatment. My wife took me, even though I was living with another woman. She was like, you need help, I'll help you. Took me, and while I was there, I saw the light for the first time. And then we got a divorce while I was in there because in all reality, I was time bomb. That's what she said. And because I could literally ruin everything at any point because of my drinking. I got out of treatment and I made it, I think, 7 months maybe before I found an excuse to relapse. But during that time, I found 5D and I would come on here and I would just log in and sit with my camera off. My camera's off right now because I'm on my phone, and I would come in at 9:15 maybe. People would say hi, I wouldn't say anything. I would listen and I would sign off as soon as it was done. That was it. So after I relapsed, I went to a detox and I came back out and I got on this meeting. And to me, is what I did is I did my first step in a share. And I remember just crying, the babbling little baby on here, and the love and support, and was like, you're not alone, that these people have showed me was tremendous. So then I started up with service work here. It's amazing because the people across the country, across the world in this meeting are there for the same reason, show you that you're not alone. If someone like me can do it, someone like you can do it. And like those are things that like I needed to hear. Yeah, I did that for a while. And it's just the aspect of finally like giving it up, because I would do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And I know these are like cliche taglines, but it's so true because that's why they exist. And that's why they're so used so many times. It's because there might be someone that hasn't went through the stuff that you have, or there might be someone that's been through way worse, but they're all here for the common reason, to have a shot at actually like living life and not living through rose colored glasses, so to speak. Yeah, fast forward to after like I got out of treatment, like I went to Disneyland, my kids. I was able to watch them like grow and be present. And I've been through some like pretty shitty stuff sober, but you don't have to do it alone. And that's what's crazy. And like some things you don't want to like bring up to people, and guilt and shame and like, why does this always happen to me? Why does God do this to me? It's not. You got to change your mentality because you have it inside the whole time. It's just how you look at things. You have no control over your outside circumstances. You can only control how you view it. You could sit and stew in your shit all day long. It's not going to change it. So you have to like put in the work and you have to do something. Don't get me wrong, I don't have the best program at all. And I'll be the first one to be brutally honest about that. It's changed my life tremendously. The job thing, when I tell you like how it is and how it is now, I've always wanted to work with food. Food's been my passion my entire life. And I work at the first AA-based recovery treatment facility in the state of Connecticut. They have a legit first copy big book. They have a fireplace that was made with marble from Bill Wilson's home. It is like legit. Like I'm seeing people grow every day. Like I serve people in detox food. I work in a kitchen, and it's not like the kitchen environment that you think of like when you're at a restaurant and there's drugs and alcohol around. It's like people are like, oh shit, I'm going to have to do a tenth on this. It's like, it's ridiculous. And it's just a tremendous blessing to wake up and be actually grateful for the things you do and like to make a difference in someone's life. And to see the change in people when you see someone come into detox. Just today, I saw someone that I went to IOP with when I got out, and he was there obviously as a guest. He walked by and like sneezed, and I was like, oh, God bless you. And like we made eye contact, and he just looked at me. And I was like, "What's up, dude?" And he's like, "How are you?" And I was like, "I'm good. I work here." I was like, "How are you?" And he's like, "Well, I'm here." And I was like, "Well, that's the start, man." Because like you have to start somewhere. And I'm glad I started when I did. And that was through this group. And it's crazy because people bash an online group and oh, you gotta get in person, you gotta do that. There's so many ways to get in person with these people. Call Eldon, they'll hang out with you. If I could say one thing is like things happen, you have no control of it, but you do have control over the way you react to it. Honestly, if you just take the second to just be mindful, do 2 to 3 seconds just to be like that total woosah moment, it helps tremendously. I think that's good enough for me. I'm Tony and I'm out.